They say that once, before there was even the idea of a sky, the world folded inside a single ball of silence. Nothing moved, for that there was no before or after. It was stillness so complete that even the thought of movement would have shattered it. In that stillness lived two entities, two beings. One was made of brightness, not the kind that blinds, but the kind that lay softly beneath the eyelid, patient and alive. She was called Light, though she had not yet earned the name Sun. The other was made of silver breath, of soft affection and calm. He was the dog, though no one had yet thought to call him Moon. They loved each other in the way that mist loves a valley, by filling it completely without needing to be seen. There was no difference between her warmth and his stillness. They were two halves of the same breath, simply the same pulse divided by nothing. But nothing, it turns out, is the most fragile thing in existence. One dawn, though dawn hadn't yet been invented, she awoke to find him gone. The silence that had once been whole was now cracked open like an eggshell, and in the crack she saw a glimmer, a thin silver thread unspooling away from her. She touched it. It was cool and trembling, like the skin of a lake just before a storm. And she knew he had gone beyond her reach. She called his name, but in that age, there were no words yet, so her call became sound itself, the first sound of the universe. It rang out and bent the emptiness into a shape, round, vast and aching. That was the birth of the sky. She followed his trail, barefoot and burning. Her footsteps fell like spark into the void, and wherever it touched, the dust caught fire, molten dust cooling behind her heels. The first planets, the first earth, the first stones, the first heartbeat of time. And in the echo of her running, the wind was born, a long exhale that remembered her urgency. Ahead of her, the dog fled, not because he wished to escape her, but because behind them both something had stirred, a mouth, ancient and jealous, made out of pure shadow. It tasted their light and could no longer bear its hunger. The shadow followed, slow but endless. It did not know what love was, only what swallowing felt like. They ran, both of them, through new galaxies still stuffed with creation. Sometimes he turned back, reached out his hand, but her glow blinded him. Sometimes she stopped, waited, but his cool breath dimmed her flame. So they kept moving, half visible to each other, always close, never touching. When the shadow closed its jaws around him, the sky quivered like an animal sensing a storm. It did not scream. The dog never screamed. He only folded inward like a memory trying not to disappear. The shadow dragged him through its own hollow body, a corridor made of hunger and ancient cold. For a moment, he became nothing but an outline of silver, flickering in and out of existence like an hesitant heartbeat. She felt it shimmer through the dark, a thread of him refusing to disappear. She followed that tremor, burning through the shadow's hollow body, and in that stolen opening, their light found each other again. Pressed against each other, whispered his name in a language no one remembers. For a heartbeat, they were whole. The universe held its breath, and then the shadow remembered itself and took him back. She rose again, furious and radiant, burning her way through the dark. He lingers behind, gathering her light into crescents, as if saving pieces of her for the time when the world would need gentleness. This is why the night hums with silver. This is why the dawn trembles with memory. They say that each morning she forgets him a little more, the heat of her own fire erasing the shape of his absence. But at dusk, when her edges soften and the air turns blue, his voice returns to her in whispers through the wind. I am the echo of your brightness. You are the reason the dark has meaning. And she, half mad from love and exhaustion, answers, if I stop shining, will you stay? But by then, he has already gone, folding himself into the cool side of the sky. The stars, their children, open 1,000 eyes and keep watch. They blinked between them, keeping the rhythm, the pulse, so the world will remember what balance feels like. Some say this endless chase is a punishment, that the gods separated them for daring to love across silence. Others say it's mercy, that if they ever stopped moving, the universe would fall asleep again. But the oldest shamans, the ones who still speak to the wind, say that the sun and the moon are not running from each other at all. They're learning the art of distance, how to hold love without consuming it. And sometimes, if you stay awake deep into the night, you can hear them practicing, the faint murmur of a flame brushing the edge of his shadow, the side of his light slipping across her skin. It sounds like water being poured back into itself. It sounds like the beginning of language. Once, a herdsman said he dreamed of them. He stood in a desert of white bones, and above him, the sky cracked open like an eyelid. From the wounds spilled rivers of gold and silver. The light and the dark fell together, entangled, burning and dissolving at once. He woke with tears streaming down his face, and a single sentence in his mouth. They met, but the world couldn't handle their closeness. So they agreed, the sun and the moon, to circle forever, to never arrive, to make their love into rhythm and time itself. This is the price of light, to always reach, to always miss, to always begin again. And we, the small thing crawling on the skin of their creation, we call this separation celestial bodies. We call their union eclipse. We build clocks to measure the ache between them, as if counting it might make it hurt less.